Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I made this ball gown inspired by Marinette from the TV show Miraculous Ladybug. Based off some 2019 concept art, people think that this dress is going to be featured in the Awakening movie. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So for this project with the ombre and the design, I thought it would be best to custom print some fabric, so here I am designing that fabric in Photoshop. I just made one simple little flower block, if you could say, and I just basically copy and pasted that with a little bit of editing across like an entire row of fabric in the order that I needed. So here's me just laying out my flowers in a way that I thought would turn up nicely and also match the picture. To get my custom fabric printed, I decided to use Contrato. This is because they had a really good student discount, and also you could set your exact dimensions and you wouldn't have to worry about whether something would fit, and you get to see a preview right away and you can order exactly how much you need and nothing more and nothing less. So since I decided to buy a pattern off of Etsy and modify it, keyword modify it, please don't ask the seller whether they have a pattern for this dress because they definitely don't. I modified it myself, and I will not be selling or giving away this pattern because it's not moral. With that being said, I took this little digital layout that they had on the instructions and just laid out my flower blocks in a way that I think the seams would line up nicely on each of the pieces, and then I ordered that amount of fabric that I needed. So when the fabric came, of course, I just took it straight out of the bag, and here it is, just laid out. You can see the design in detail here. It's a little wrinkly, but it's okay. But to make it a little bit straighter, I just rolled it around an empty bolt that I had. You can also go to like Joann's and then ask the cutting counter for an empty bolt, and I'm sure they'll give it to you for free because they just throw them out at the end of the day. You don't have to do this, but I did just because I wasn't going to use this fabric for a long time after I got it, so I just wrapped it up. So once again, I did purchase a pattern off of Etsy to base this dress off of. I did heavily alter that, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, you just print that out on your regular pieces of paper and tape it all together. So here's me just laying out the pieces. I only really need the skirt part, but the pattern did come with a bodice piece that was supposed to be attached. I only cut out 3 pieces, and the pieces that I cut out here are 4, 5, and 7. I didn't actually end up using 7 though. So this pattern is by NoelNova on YouTube or Etsy. They go by the same name, and I liked it a lot, but you really do need some experience to understand it because the instructions are mostly in video form. There's not too much detail graphically, so if you really need that, just watch their videos and you'll be fine. So to alter my pattern, I had to plan out the number of skirts that I wanted. So here's me just drawing the skirts that I saw, and I decided to do a double circle skirt for the top skirt and then just do a long ruffled piece for every single bottom skirt. So the orange part is going to be just a ruffled piece attached to the waist, and then the third skirt, I ended up not making a attachment skirt to go with that. But that's how the pattern is. There's like a regular skirt and then there's ruffles attached to it just to save fabric. And then yeah, I actually followed through with that for the bottom 2 layers. The second to last layer is an uneven layer, so I just cut the top skirt. You can see right there that the skirt is 2 pieces, you know, the top skirt and the ruffle that I was mentioning before. So this is how I plan to do my skirts. I didn't make a mock-up. If you are scared of improvisation, you should probably make a mock-up first. Maybe a tiny one, anything, just to make sure you get the shapes down, but I didn't. So just in case anyone wanted to check it out, here's the skirt pattern that I chose to use. So here's a time lapse of me cutting out my 2 skirts. I shortened one of them, but I honestly probably should have shortened both. These are the bottom skirts. I also probably should have changed the ombre because I didn't realize that I would only really use half of it, but it's alright, we live and learn, I guess. The white fabric I'm using here is just some satin lining fabric from Joann's that best matched the type of fabric that I bought from Contrato. So to make the base skirts, I had to pin down the pleats that were indicated on the pattern and just sew them up first. And then I could go ahead and ruffle my ruffle fabric. It was roughly 7 yards, but looking back I probably would have used about 9 and just disregarded the pattern because the shape wasn't exactly how I liked it. It had a train and I wasn't really into the whole train thing, but for this entire process I think it still turned out alright. when you ruffle, just make sure that you take your sewing machine and put the tension on the lowest setting so you can just pull one of the strings and ruffle your fabric all the way through. Just make sure you use some really strong thread and you should be fine, and then just double knot at the end. And here's me just attaching the ruffle to the base skirt, and we're gonna just like test it on the mannequin now, see how it looks, see if we like the height. So you can see my hoop skirt here. I actually did not choose to use this skirt. I chose a different ruffly hoop skirt, one that didn't have a hoop at the very top, because my bodice was gonna go down to my hips, and if like it wouldn't be able to go down on this because of the hoop. So here I'm just pinning the skirt on the bodice just to make sure that everything's alright and it drapes okay. Again, I personally don't think I used enough fabric to ruffle at the bottom because it didn't have the waves that I was expecting it to, but we can always fix that in a future life when we have a little bit more money to spare. A very important notion that you need to have for this project is horsehair braid. This makes the ends of your fabric skirts really stiff, and it keeps the whole loop thing that was in the original design of this dress. This trim is also very important. It's jumbo rickrack. I just got this on Amazon. It worked perfectly for this project to get the little scallops on the edge. It's not exactly as sharp as the picture is, but it's the closest thing that you can get. And this is just a closer look at the bottom skirt. You can see what I'm talking about with the base skirt and the ruffle. Okay, so to get the flounces of the skirt in the original design, I decided to use a double circle skirt. This is just 2 circle skirts, and then you cut a slit down the middle of one on both sides, and then you cut a slit down the middle of only one side on the other one. So you have like it's double the length with the same radius of your waist. You can probably find videos about calculations. I really don't know how to find them myself, so I wouldn't be doing much good trying to explain it to you here. To attach a zipper to this project, since it has multiple layers, you have to do something special. My zipper was 7 inches long, so I measured 7 inches down, and I figured out that I was gonna sew on each individual skirt up the entire length until it reaches the zipper length, and I did that to every single skirt. So see here, 6 inches, just pin that there and then sew up to that point. And then just fold over the remaining hems on everything and then sew along that line just so that it's not going to fray once you add the zipper and people can't really notice that it's still left open. So here's this video of all my skirt layers. You can kind of see the details of them, just pause to look at it. So what you want to do is line up your openings on each side of the skirt and make sure that they're all in the same place, and only sew your invisible zipper onto the bottom layer. You should do this after you attach your waistband. So what I did here was I sewed the skirt together first just to make sure everything was together, sewed over again to make sure nothing would fall off, and then sewed over again, but this time with the waistband on. And once the waistband was on is when I put the zipper on. So here's the entire finished skirt. You can see me turn around in a bit, I think, and the zipper's in the back. I used my experience making bodices in the past to put together NoelNova's bodice block pattern. It ended up working really well for this project. All I really had to do was figure out how to pattern the sleeves. I didn't make them as shapely as they are in design. What I just did was I just made a standard rectangular strap because I knew the rickrack would correct the curves afterwards. So here's me just draping on my mannequin and copying the patterns onto some cardstock so I can sew them officially later. So here's a Photoshop layout that I made beforehand. I just referenced this and pinned all the pieces in a way where each of the designs would line up with each other. So you can see here I'm measuring the distances that some of the designs are from the bottom of the pattern. So besides a few misjudgments when I designed it in the first place, the pattern lined up pretty well on both pieces for every time that I had to attach one. When you do attach them together, just make sure that you're really looking at the way the pattern looks underneath it. So here you can kind of see that once you flip over the seam, it will match exactly like it does here. Once again, really look at the intersection of those two flowers. They should be identical across like one little mirror line, if you know what I mean. So in total, you need 2 bodice pieces, one out of main fabric and the other one out of lining fabric. You should probably put interfacing on the lining fabric, but I personally didn't just because I was on a crunch for time. So here's me pinning the rickrack on my straps to make a little bubble effect on the sleeves. You can see the shape coming together here, and it fits basically perfectly because I draped it myself before. To sew your bodice pieces together, pin along the top and make sure that you insert the rickrack that you need to, the straight one, into the parts of the bodice that don't have the straps. It's kind of hard to explain here, but I hope you can see what I mean. Just sandwich it in between. It's easiest to sew boning channels into the seams themselves because there's already lines going down to guide you, so I just did that. Now if you want to, before you put your eyelets in, you can just make a little panel which goes into the back so you don't have to see your skin once you lace it up like this. So here's a close-up of your bodice. Make sure you measure your bones carefully because you can see there in the middle it's puckering because the channel is shorter than the bone. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and if anyone tried to make this at home, make sure you tag me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. I would love to see what you guys come up with. There will be prints available of this photo shoot up on my Etsy, link in the description, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know if you get one because this is my first time selling them. Thanks, bye!